Well, welcome back. I got one thing to say. Repeat after me. Wow. You can do better than that. Wow. All right. Go all out. Wow. Awesome. Wow, that's the word I think of when I think of this day, this venue, this occasion, and our awesome speaker. Our last in-person event was on February 13th, 2020. And it's been a long 2+ years of being cooped up and being online. So welcome back, Silicon Valley. My name is Rob. I organize Idea to IPO. We've been doing events in Silicon Valley for many, many years. We launched officially on February 1st, 2010. At that time, we had no members and no events on our calendar. At this stage, we have over 200,000 members among all our meetup groups all around the world. We've organized, promoted, and produced over 3,000 events. By any standard, by any measure, we're the most active, most prolific startup event organization in the history of Silicon Valley, bar none. I was expecting a wow, but that's okay. But let me expand on that. So if we're the most active, most prolific startup event organization in the history of Silicon Valley, and Silicon Valley is the global center of entrepreneurship and innovation, that would make us the most active, most prolific startup event organization in the history of the world. You guys catch on fast. I like you guys. We organize venture capital panels, legal workshops, networking events, and more. We have an event nearly every day of the week. Check out our schedule at ideatoipo.com. We have many partners that help us do what we do: law firms, venture capital firms, angel investor groups, incubators, accelerators, co-working spaces, colleges, universities, lots of players in the Silicon Valley startup ecosystem. Tonight, we're grateful to JJ Lake Business Center for hosting us at this beautiful venue. Is this a beautiful venue? Yeah. So let's hear it for Yifu and JJ Lake Business Center.
Thanks, Rob. So this is us. So our parents, let's start with our parents' company, Reichert Holding. So it has been doing equity investment back in Suzhou, China since 2001. So it's been 21 years. So it started with a single venture capital fund and eventually grew itself into a holding company in 2012. And JJ Lake, we started in 2018, and we set up our Silicon Valley chapter by then, and then we had our Boston chapter, and now we're still expanding during the pandemic. So Reichert Holding itself is equity investment funds. So under this holding umbrella, we got a different kind of funds set up based on their stage, their focus. So we have seed funds, VC, PE, pre-IPO, and also we have a dedicated IC funds. We also have a fund of funds. It has so far invested in more than 150 funds back in China. And also we have a direct investment fund. That means Reichert Holding is its single LP. And for the funds right below, those funds need to raise funds from other LPs as well. So we have an assets management company back in Hong Kong, and we're helping with government fund management, debt. This is where JJ Lake stands. So basically in this equity investment system, so we're helping, we're serving the purpose as a platform to really connect the dots, to connect the both sides, so investors and the entrepreneurs. I want to go through every details, but those are the introduction. Those are the things about our seed fund, VC funds, and the things we're in the Valley. So John and Alex, those are the managing partner of our USD venture capital funds called Oriza Ventures. So they're investing in very early stage, typical check size from $500K to $3 million. So if you're interested in learning more about them, just reach out to me. PE and merger acquisition fund, fund of funds. As you can see here, it's a very huge family. Those are our portfolio funds. So the ecosystem, we're hosting events to help the startup and also the funds with the branding and the marketing to connect the dots. In terms of the focus, we're very technical driven. So we're interested in biotech, AI, big data, and semiconductor, nanotech, etc. So by this February, we have cultivated more than 180 IPO companies. Majority of them are listed in mainland China. Some are in Hong Kong. Some are in NASDAQ. And as for JJ Lake, well, we started our journey in 2018, and we designed a cross-border accelerator program. As a matter of fact, a majority of our resources, the funds are located in China, so that's our strength. So we're not in the local to compete with like Y Combinator 500s. Those are not our sweet spots. So we're focusing on helping the US startups to tap into the China market. That's where we're good at. So as I mentioned, we set up the Boston chapter last year. And also last December, we started this new initiative called Asia Future Innovation Challenge. Last December, I was in Atlanta, and in February, I was in Seattle, and next week, I'm flying to New York to host a local competition. So in terms of the way that we run business, at a very, very basic level, we have this facility. We're located in, as you can see, Mountain View, Silicon Valley. And it's an 18,000 square feet, two-story building. If you by any chance are looking for a dedicated desk, private office to start your startup journey, just feel free to reach out to us as well. And on top of this physical facility, we're having a community. So it includes entrepreneurs, investors, working professionals. About 70% of some Chinese Americans, because that's our focus group. And also, based on this community, we're providing service to both investors and the entrepreneur side. So for investors, we're providing deal sourcing, deal referral, events, program service to them. And for startups, especially from the US to China side, we're helping them with the first localization to connect with them with a local support package. And also, we're helping them with connecting. We're helping the startup connecting with our holding companies. And during the COVID, we do see a lot of opportunities the other way around from the China to US because of the pandemic. Those people won't be able to fly here to physically start the startup. So, but they do have the demand to set up the R&D center, sales center in the local. So we help them with stepping at a very early stage, help them with the incorporation, branding, etc. So just some pictures, the space, the profile of our companies, just for your reference. So the majority of our tenants at the moment are focusing on the AI, machine learning, internet, etc. Yeah. In the community building, we have our own events. Today we're co-hosting events with Rob from Idea to IPO, but we do have our own event series. You can find more videos on the YouTube. So we have Meet Your Next Investor, My Startup Story, and the Cross-Border 101. So all addressing different kind of angles, the startups' questions. Community building, a lot of events. Actually, before COVID, in average, we're hosting 3 events per week. Hopefully, we can see that back to normal soon. Those are the services we provide to the investment group. From US to China, we have this Pioneer program. It's really the cross-border accelerator program that we designed to help the local startups. So basically, if selected, we can provide up to, if we convert everything into the cash value into the US dollars, we can provide up to $6 million grant package to support the startup to expand the business in China. Those include the cash rewards, fundraising, loan, zero interest loan, low interest loan, reimbursement, etc. And also, as I mentioned, Oriza will also pay very close attention to those participants. What we're really trying to do is to not only help the startup with the government support, with the local support, but also with our capital group. And it's free to apply. So we have so far cultivated 57 pioneers, and they have raised more than 100 million RMB directly from Oriza, from our holding company, and more from our VC network. Here are some successful cases. Startup from Berkeley. Founder is for the Ant Factory founder originally from China, but I met him in a delegation trip here in the U.S. Linked Up Bio, what they're doing is an antibody drug discovery platform, and I met the founder in Boston, and now he's in Suzhou, China. That's the business we have helped from the China to U.S. to expand the business in the local. So this new initiative, so Asia Future Innovation Challenge, as I mentioned, it started last December, Atlanta, Seattle, next week in New York, and more to be announced. So we're on social media, and I will also be around. So if you have any questions about JJ Lake and also about our parents company, Ariza Holding, just feel free to reach out to me. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Yifu. So though we're based in Silicon Valley, our global mission is to democratize entrepreneurship and innovation all around the world. To that end, we maintain a robust YouTube channel. We have tons of videos there. This rich, valuable content is available on demand, anytime, anywhere, totally free of charge. Our partner in this endeavor is Tim Jeggers of Jeggers Films, one of the top professional videographers in Silicon Valley. So let's hear it for Tim. Applause. Wow.
Wow. All right. Yeah, so I'm Tim. I've been doing videos with Rob for a long time. Took a little bit of break. You may or may not be familiar with COVID, I think. Is that what they're calling it? So, yeah, I produce video content. I do a lot of photography. I do people, products, organizations, YouTube stuff. So, yeah, if you have any questions about any of that or the YouTube channel, feel free to reach out to me after the event. And, yeah, glad to be back. So many faces. This is great. All right, thank you.
Right, well, here's the agenda for the rest of the evening. We're going to hear a dynamic, scintillating, insightful, superb, entertaining presentation from our featured speaker tonight, right? Then we're going to listen to elevator pitches from selected entrepreneurs, and they're going to get feedback from our featured speaker. Afterwards, we'll end the program about 8:30. There'll be some time for networking. However, we'd like to leave the building by 8:45 as a courtesy to our venue sponsor. There is an after party at the Hyatt Regency Santa Clara, so I'll meet you all there. It's also known as the New Rosewood, so please check it out. Check it out. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce our featured speaker tonight. He is one of the greatest venture capitalists in the history of Silicon Valley. But let me expand on that. I'm not done. So let me expand on that. If Bill Reichert is one of the greatest venture capitalists in the history of Silicon Valley, and Silicon Valley is the center of global innovation and entrepreneurship, then Bill Reichert is one of the greatest venture capitalists in the history of the world. So let's give Bill a big wow on 3. 1, 2, 3. Wow!
Thank you so much, Rob. And I did not realize that this is the first in-person event since COVID. Is that true? It is. Thank you. I appreciate that. Well, welcome back, everyone. This is kind of crazy. I guess this is my third in-person event, since COVID in the last, I guess, roughly 3 weeks. So we're creeping back. But it's great to see you all in person live, and hopefully everybody is fully boosted, right? I'm hoping. Okay, good. All right. So about me and about WOW. So some of you, I see some familiar faces, have been here before. Since I saw you last, before I was the founding partner, co-founder of Garage Technology Ventures, along with Guy Kawasaki, focusing on seed and early stage startup companies. Well, during COVID, we got acquired by a large global venture capital firm called Pegasus Tech Ventures. And so now I am a general partner at Pegasus Tech Ventures, and I get to do even more stuff. But I still get to do this. I still get to reach out to the entrepreneur community and do workshops and coaching and mentoring. So I'm getting the sign that you guys in the back can't hear me. So you can't hear me back there? I'm fine. I'm fine. Now I'm fine. I didn't used to be fine. Okay, but now I'm fine. That I got to be this close. I got to be this close. I got to be this close. I got a great idea for an entrepreneur to fix audiovisual technology because we couldn't use my laptop because of something, and so now I got to do PDFs. I can't do PowerPoint because of something, and you can't hear me in the back because of technology. Someday we'll get the technology of audiovisual working again, but so we'll cope in the interim. In any case, so I'm now general partner of Pegasus Tech Ventures. Pegasus is a global venture capital firm with our headquarters here in Silicon Valley, but offices all over the world. We have nearly $2 billion of assets under management. But as a big global fund, we still invest across the spectrum, from seed all the way up to pre-IPO. So we're all across the spectrum in terms of stage, and then also in terms of technology. So it's one of my great delights, having joined Pegasus now, that I get to do life science and clean tech and material science, as well as IT. I get to do hardware, I get to do software, I get to do enterprise, I get to do consumer, I get to do gaming, I get to do almost everything. So it's a wonderful, wonderful platform, and it's a great opportunity for entrepreneurs to find a home and potentially expand globally. So that's part of our mission as Pegasus. But first, you have to figure out how to knock our socks off. First, you have to figure out how to get my partners and other VCs excited about what it is you're doing. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about getting to wow, Silicon Valley pitch secrets for entrepreneurs. So when we're talking about, and I knew this was going to work, okay? There we go. So when we're talking about your pitch, most entrepreneurs think the pitch has something to do with, 56 slides and PowerPoint and charts and graphs and data and, all that sort of stuff. But what I want to convey to you today is stop thinking about the pitch as your deck and think about the pitch as the impression you create and that investors walk away with. Your pitch is not your deck, it's not your presentation, it's not your executive summary, it's not your demo, it's not your business plan, it's not your video. Your pitch is the impression you create and leave behind. Now, what most entrepreneurs don't realize is that most of their pitches are not with slides. Most of the time you're pitching, you are okay, here we go. Who's in charge of AV here? Okay, all right. Most of your pitches are going to be less than 20 seconds long. Most entrepreneurs don't appreciate that, but most of your pitching is the brief impression you make when you're out and about in the world, or you're on Zoom somewhere, or you're in a conference call of some sort, and you introduce yourself, or you say something about what your company does. But almost all the time, when you talk about yourself and your company, it's without slides, and it's less than 20 seconds. And so what I try to convey to entrepreneurs is you've got to learn to make the most that you can out of that 20 seconds. You've got to be prepared to get to wow in just 20 seconds. Your reality is, in most of your situations, you've got 20 seconds to be compelling, or you might as well go home. If they don't remember you, if they can't remember what you're up to and why it's exciting, then what good was that introduction? So, how do you get compelling in 20 seconds? It turns out that in order to be compelling in 20 seconds, it involves Human Anatomy 101. What do I mean by that? We know from research that an effective communicator connects with 3 body parts. What are the 3 body parts you have to connect with in order to be effective as a communicator? Okay. The first is the brain, right? The head. You've got to connect with the head. What you say has got to be logical. It's got to make sense. I have to understand it, which is sometimes a challenge if English was not your first language. Or, there are a whole bunch of reasons. If engineer speak was your first language, that can be a problem too, okay? So it's got to make sense. It's got to be something that we can understand. It's got to fit with our understanding of the universe and how the world works. It's got to fit with our understanding of the way business works, okay? It's got to be logical. So that's what most entrepreneurs are trained in, is connecting with the head. When I was an entrepreneur, I spent all my time focusing on collecting data, collecting evidence, building slides, making the case, trying to pound investors into submission with the power of my logic and my data and my evidence. That's what I thought pitching was all about. Then I became a VC, and I started watching how VCs made investment decisions. So I'm poking around watching how my fellow VCs are making investment decisions. We had Sequoia invested in Garage, and Draper Fisher invested in Garage, and Mayfield invested in Garage. And so I got a chance to see some experienced, seasoned, talented VCs making investment decisions, and what I saw shocked me. I thought VCs were these logic analyst types who could ingest all of this data and run an algorithm in the back of their head and come up with an IRR and make these incredible investment decisions. But it turns out, as I was watching VCs make investment decisions, I had this epiphany. Guess what? VCs do not invest with their brains. VCs invest with their hearts. And the big lesson that I learned, and the lesson I want you to all take away today, is it's not good enough to assemble evidence and data and logic and PowerPoint slides. You've got to get them to fall in love. You got to get the heart beating faster. You got to get the pulse racing. You got to get them to say, wow, that's amazing. You can do that? Wow is not an intellectual response, right? Wow is an emotional response. And so, normally at this point, someone raises their hand and says, well, but wait a second, Bill. I didn't think investors had a heart. Okay. Believe it or not. Wow. Okay. Believe it or not, VCs are people too. So the secret you all have to learn is, in addition to being logical and data-driven and evidence-based, in addition to that, and even above that, you got to get them to fall in love. But there's a third body part you got to connect with. What's the third body part? The gut. Third body part is the gut. We all know that human beings have evolved to the point where the first time we hear something new, the first time we meet someone new, we have an instinctive reaction. We instinctively either say, I believe it and I trust it, or I don't believe it and I don't trust it. I believe him or I trust him, but I don't believe him. I don't trust him. So, you have, as a human being, as an entrepreneur, you've got to pass the gut check. You've got to come across as trustworthy and credible. But, of course, you're all trustworthy and credible, right? Right? You're all trustworthy. Believe it or not, sometimes entrepreneurs have a tendency to exaggerate, maybe. Maybe sometimes they say things that sound a little bit delusional sometimes, maybe. So you got to be careful. You got to be careful that you don't exaggerate to the extent that you lose their trust. So you got to pass the gut check. You've got to be, believable. You've got to be trustworthy. So those are the three body parts you got to connect with. Which is the most important? Okay, the heart. The heart is the most important. Remember that. You've got to have all three. You got to have all three, but getting them to fall in love is the most important. So how do you get there? So you get there by doing something different than most entrepreneurs. So this is your advantage, because most entrepreneurs sound something like this. Coolco is a dynamic startup company that has developed a revolutionary technology that's going to disrupt our $56 billion industry. Our team has over 45 years of combined experience, and we have 3 patents pending. We project that our curve-jumping, paradigm-shifting, transformational technology is going to blah, 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 right? Have you ever listened to that on stage? Maybe, sometimes, right? Okay. So that's somewhat typical of what we hear. I got to tell you, I figure I've listened to literally tens of thousands of pitches now. You know, actually, the first 1,000 I gave, right? The first were my pitches and my partners as an entrepreneur. But then the next 99,000 were you guys out there. So I've heard a lot of these pitches. This is one typical pitch type, but there's another extreme. The other extreme is a team came into our office and they really said this. They said, we use a 2048 Diffie-Hellman key exchange and 256-bit triple DAS to provide impenetrable security for IoT devices. Now, here I am in Silicon Valley. I know half of you know what that means, right? So I get it. You know, some of you actually know what that means, but believe it or not, the reaction of me and my partners was more like this, right? And and if that's the way you pitch, then you're going to be more like this. And so you don't want to be like this. You want to figure out how to get to wow. So how do you get to wow? So I'm going to go tell you something that you all need to hear about the way pitch coaching in Silicon Valley and around the world works that is doing damage to you as entrepreneurs, okay? So believe it or not, most pitch coaches are actually presentation coaches. They're not pitch coaches. And there's a difference between a pitch and a presentation. And so you need to understand that difference. The difference is a presentation is you got 18 and a half minutes and you can start with a story and you have an arc of your narrative and you end with the conclusion of the story and it's a TED talk and it's beautiful and it's wonderful. And there is a skill to that and there is an art and a design to that. And that's great. That's a presentation. A pitch, however, is, 20-second bites back and forth. A pitch is more like a tennis game than it is like a TED talk. So you've got to be prepared to go to where the ball is. You can't assume you're always in control of the game. So as an entrepreneur pitching, you're going to be told you should start with the problem because that's logical, right? You start with the problem and then you give the solution, and that's kind of the arc of a logical narrative, right? But what happens is it keeps happening. We have entrepreneurs, they come into our office, they put up their title slide, and I know they've got some sort of climate tech company, right? And then their next slide is a picture of downtown Beijing. And, orange fog, orange ball that's supposedly the sun, people with masks on. Sounds like Silicon Valley, huh? And then they launch into this, every year we put 3.5 trillion tons of carbon into the atmosphere and climate change. And then they have polar bears dying and ice, bergs collapsing. And so they go on for 4 minutes on how climate change is a problem. Did we need to know this? We know climate change is a problem. We're sitting there waiting, trying to find out what the heck does this company do? If you start with the problem, investors are going to be impatient with you until you tell them what you're doing to solve the problem. So skip the problem part. We know there's climate change. We know people die from cancer. We know that consumers abandon shopping carts. We know that, we know the problems out there. I'm willing to bet that if, 20 of you tell me, we'll find out, if you tell me what your solution is, I know the problem you're solving. So why not just tell me what your solution is rather than spending all this time talking about a problem that we probably already understand. Now, 1 out of 20 of you will have a problem that maybe needs elaboration. So that's fair. Sometimes that happens, particularly, I have discovered, in life science. So sometimes, somebody's working with the CAR-T antibody or whatever, and I don't know. So in any case, rarely does it make sense for you to start with the problem. Generally, just tell us what your solution is, and we'll know the problem you're solving. If you tell us the solution and the benefits are the problem you're solving, right? So spend your time on what you're doing, not on some third-party abstract topic. That is the problem. The other thing that pitch coaches will tell you is tell a story, because we know that people remember stories better than they remember facts. And that's okay, that's true, it's valid, but then we get these entrepreneurs, they come into our office and they put up their title slide and say, hi, I'm Bill, but before I tell you about my company, let me tell you a story. When I was a kid, my grandfather had a farm. And in the summers, I would go down to the farm, and on the farm there was a pond. And in the afternoons, I would go down to the pond and look across the water at the woods beyond. And in the woods beyond, I'm like, oh my God, give me a break, right? So, but we get this all the time because some pitch coach said, tell a story. Get them with the story, right? Maybe someday I want to hear your story. I mean, maybe over a beer or over whatever, I want to hear your story. But, when you're pitching, you don't have time to tell your origin story. Now, I will give you permission to tell a story if you could tell a story in one sentence. Because, stories are powerful. Stories are powerful. I give that. But there's a time and a place. And later on, I'll tell you about telling a story in one sentence. The third thing that pitch coaches will tell you is you got to show a big market. Every slideshow template on the planet, it seems, has a slide that says market size. And on the market size, it has 3 bubbles, right? You guys all have this slide, I'm sure. I know you do. You're all guilty. And what are the 3 bubbles? All together? TAM, SAM, SOM, right? Everybody has this incredibly stupid slide that has no validity whatsoever to a venture capitalist. I mean, it's stunning to me that this slide persists, but it's total bullshitaki in terms of, what those slides show. So what VCs really want is to hear that you understand who your target customers are. Exactly. You can't be targeting millennials. That's unacceptable. Not all millennials are the same. And, to try to reach 76 million American millennials will cost a fortune. So tell us exactly who your customers are. Characterize them granularly. You guys all have heard the term persona, right? You know about defining your persona? You know about persona, right? Okay. Okay. So we want to know that you've done the work to understand who your target customers really are. Where are they? How do they buy? What do they want? What do they need? How much money do they have? Are they ready to switch? Are they ready to buy your product? We want to know that you've done that work. You can't just say there's 76 million millennials, and so all I need is 2% of those, and I've got a $1 billion business. That ain't going to fly, but that's what most pitch decks show, right? So don't do that. I will tell you, I have never seen a company fail because the market was too small. I don't know why this emphasis on market size. I don't know why people think that the bigger the TAM, the more likely they're going to succeed. It doesn't make any logical sense. So somebody needs to explain that to me and why entrepreneurs are still using that slide. Okay. So, and then, of course, every pitch coach will say, here's the perfect template. All you have to do is fill out these 13 slides and you'll have the perfect pitch. No, there was no pitch template that was designed for your company. You need to lay out your business in the sequence that makes the most sense for the challenges and opportunities that you're going after. So think about, as you tell your story, what are the questions that are going to pop into the listener's head? So, you tell the story about what you're doing, and then you should know that there are a stream of questions that people would ask if they had the chance to ask. Knock down those questions in priority. But they're going to be different for every company. Some companies, the first thing that pops into the VC's mind is, oh my God, there is an incumbent that is so big, there's no chance in the world that you're going to beat that incumbent. But another, a different company, different problem, the question is going to be, wait a second, don't you have to get FDA approval for that? How are you going to do that, right? A different company, right? For each company, the immediate question is going to be different. And so think about what are the immediate questions that investors are going to have. Same thing when you're doing sales. What are the immediate questions that a customer, a prospect is going to have? And you knock those down in that sequence of priority. That keeps them hooked. But if you ignore that big elephant incumbent and you go off on some template that's, about Tam Sam Sam and, whatever else, right? Then they're not going to listen to you until you get to the competition slide, which is slide number 6, right? Or whatever it is, right? So, okay? So my point is, these will not get you to wow. So tell me, Bill, how do you get to wow? Here's the secret. In order to get to wow, you have to make sure that everything you say and print and communicate follows the 3 C's. The 3 C's are, it's got to be clear, obviously, right? It's got to be clear what it is you're doing. So what the heck are you up to? What is your business, right? It's got to be clear to us what you're doing. So if we don't know what you're doing, it's hard for us to get excited about your value proposition. So that's number 2. Second, you got to be compelling. What compelling benefit do you offer to whom? That's the second C. And the third C is you got to be credible. Can we believe you? So be clear, connects with the head. Be compelling, gets my heart beating faster. Be credible, pass the gut check. So I'm telling you, if you figure out how to communicate in this framework, clear, compelling, and credible, it will help you with all of your communications going forward. I'm not just talking about your pitch. I'm saying, yes, when you're pitching to investors, same applies to customers when you're pitching to customers. It's going to be different words, it's going to be a different focus, but it's got to be clear, it's got to be compelling, it's got to be credible, right? So, you're schmoozing at events. Hello, right? How do you explain yourself at an event like this? While you're chomping down pizza, what are you saying about what your company is and what your value proposition is? You're posting updates. How do you recruit? How do you recruit to the company? You've got to get them excited. You got to get them to fall in love. You're looking for partners. You're sending out emails. You're on Zoom. You're on the website, voice, etc. All of your communications need to be clear, compelling, and credible, right? That just makes sense. So, okay, let me give you a framework for constructing your wow. Okay, 3-step framework for constructing your wow. First step, what is a good description of what you do? What's a 1-sentence description of your business? So now, again, most pitch coaches say you got 8 words, right? I don't know, or maybe you have 12 words. Or it's got to be something your grandmother understands, or something a 6-year-old understands, or something. That's kind of this pitch coach. I mean, some of my best friends are pitch coaches. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be trashing all pitch coaches, but I'm just saying you probably heard this before. Your grandmother has to understand it. No, your grandmother doesn't have to understand it. Your audience has to understand it. And your audience almost certainly understands simple, straightforward TechCrunch language, right? That's the world we're going to live in. They don't have to be IEEE Spectrum readers, right? But they read TechCrunch and things like that. That's the level you want to put it at. So imagine that you're talking to a TechCrunch journalist or a Wall Street Journal, whatever. You're talking to a journalist. What sentence do you want them to use to describe your company? They're not going to say, I met Inspires. What's it? Inspires? I met the founders of Inspires. They are going to empower the future of education. So a journalist is not going to, I don't know if that's true. But a journalist is not going to print that. Maybe on your website, you have a tagline that says, disrupting the healthcare industry or something, whatever. I mean, you might have that as a tagline, but no journalist is going to repeat that. What is the sentence a journalist would use to describe your company? They're not going to say, I met a curve-jumping, paradigm-shifting, right? They're not going to say that. So what is that sentence? It should be clear, crisp, concise, memorable, easy to say, easy to take away. So it's stunning to me how often when I ask an entrepreneur, what do? They don't have that sentence. Usually what they do is they start describing their product. Usually that's what they do, because that's easier to do. We have an app. Oh, okay. But what's the sentence that describes your business? It's not your mission necessarily, but it sort of is aligned with your mission, right? Now, again, I'm a VC. For me, it's super easy, right? Pegasus Tech Ventures is a global venture capital firm. Everybody pretty much understands that, right? So that's an advantage. Some companies, it's not that easy. Some it's easy, but some it's not that easy. So for some of you, this is going to be harder than for others. So that's your first sentence. So now guess what? You're 8 seconds into your pitch, right? What's your second sentence? Your second sentence is, what is the compelling benefit you offer to whom? So can you articulate your value proposition? This is your value proposition. So you can't rattle off a series of 8 benefits. Well, we're faster and we're simpler, we're easier, we're more convenient, we have it in blue and in red. You can't rattle off just a bunch of features. You've got to be able to articulate something that is compelling. We are 10 times faster. We cost 1/10 as much. We last 5 times longer. We can process 15 times more data, whatever, right? You've got to have some quantified, compelling value proposition that's going to make you stand out from the rest of the world out there, and is going to make an investor's heart beat faster. So that's your second sentence. And then your third sentence is, what proof do you have that I can believe you? So it's your validation. So, why is it because every VC in the back of their head is saying, oh, I've heard this before. People have tried this before. Oh no, not another one of those, right? So that's, VCs are kind of obnoxious people. They have a tendency to be skeptics, right? So they're going to be skeptical, and they're going to think, I've heard this before. Why am I wasting my time with this person? So you've got to nail that up front and say, you might have heard of other companies that are doing something like this. Remember the guys that crashed and burned 2 years ago? Remember WeWork? Well, we're not like WeWork. I'm sorry. Unlike WeWork, we have a sustainable economic business model, or whatever. But you've got to say something to separate you from all those other companies that I've heard of that are in the mind of the investor that you have to be able to differentiate yourself from. So that's your third sentence. So you can put those 3 together in 20, 25 seconds, and then you've got a nice, crisp, easy to remember, easy to understand, compelling summary of your business that I can go back to my partners and say, hey, I met this company at this event called Inspires, and what they're doing is blah, blah, blah. I'll find out in a bit, right? So now, at this point, some of you are going to say, wait a second, Bill, you said no templates. That looks like a template. Admittedly, it is a template, but I don't want you to just follow that religiously. You're going to need all 3 sentences at some point. So you need all 3 sentences, but maybe your wow you put together in a different way. Excuse me. So there are some other ways of putting together your wow. One is, if you can tell a story or paint a picture in 1 sentence, maybe that's the best way to do it. And this sentence might begin with imagine if. Imagine if you had an app that pulled together all of your contacts in one place from all of your different messaging and email systems, so that you didn't have to go searching for that last email that you lost, right? That was a problem today. So imagine if could be a way to paint the picture of what you're doing and the benefit you offer to your customers. So try it. Try it to see if you can frame your wow as an imagine if. And if you can use an analogy that can help. We hear this, we're the Google of, we're the Uber of, we're the Airbnb of, and now we hear we're the Plaid of, or we're the Discord of, or we're the Figma of, or we're the Canva of. I mean, you got to be careful when you use analogies that your audience knows the analogy, the analog. So be careful if you use an analogy, but they can be very powerful in terms of, oh yeah, I get it. So instantly I understand the business model, and now I'm just drilling into the specifics, if you can do that. And then, if you can drop a really big name, make sure you drop a really big name, okay? If you've got something extraordinary about your company, let us know up front. One of my favorite examples, I was a judge at an elevator pitch competition down in New Zealand. And this woman gets up and says, "My name is Claudia. We have developed special effects software for the entertainment industry. Last year, we won the Academy Award." And then she went on for the next, 3.5 minutes talking more about her app, at the end of which I said, "Claudia, you had me at Academy Award," right? So if you have Academy Award, if you've won, how many people here? How many? Nobody? Really? Come on. Okay. So the other example is a team came into our office. It turned out one of the founders had won a Nobel Prize. That's pretty good, Okay. We invested more recently in a company where the founder had won the Turing Prize. That was a knock your socks, for AI. So if you've got a really big name, make sure you drop it early and often. So some quick tips, and then we're going to get to the pitches, okay? All right, you guys ready? So I don't know if everybody here knows, but we have lined up some entrepreneurs who are going to try to pitch me their wow, and we're going to talk about whether it works or doesn't. So, you're going to have a chance to figure out whether or not it works and share the reaction. So some other quick tips. Keep it simple. So you're going to go home and you're going to think about these 3 sentences and you're going to craft something unbelievably complex and impossible for a human being to speak, right? Okay, don't do that. Keep it simple. Keep it something that a normal human being could say in a conversation at an event like this, not a carefully crafted, mini treatise on what it is you're doing, okay? The written word is different than the spoken word. You have to craft this as a spoken word. Be customer focused. Stop talking about your product. Talk about customer benefits. Stop talking about your platform. Talk about customer benefits, okay? And then use 1 or 2 numbers to quantify your benefit. Again, I want you to have a metric of merit. We're 10x or we're 1/10. What is the metric that I'm going to walk away with? Every pitch deck now is just loaded with numbers. There's these, these template slides out there that have, the summary of the key performance indicators of our company, and they've got 8 different numbers scattered across the page as if somehow we're going to remember any of them. But they seem to be impressive numbers, so they put them on a slide. What is the number or 2 numbers that represents the wow that I can take back to my partners and say, these guys are 12x, whatever it is? That's what you want them to walk away with. Okay, and then last, don't lie, okay? So, every entrepreneur has a tendency to exaggerate. We have a whole separate presentation on the top 10 entrepreneurial lies. I'm not going to go into that now. You can find it on the internet. And then what I'll do is, I'm not going to talk about this. I'm going to share the slides with anybody who wants it. Or if we don't have time to talk about this now, you can just get the book. Right? Okay. And now this is the advertising portion of the program. So it happens that after doing this for some number of years, a friend of mine, Angelica Blendstrup, came to me and said, "Hey, Bill, would you mind if I put all of this stuff into a book?" And I said, "Angelica, sure, go ahead." And so about a year later, she came back to me with 240 slides and said, "Here it is. Would you edit it?" So then I spent the next 2 years writing the book. So this is everything I just said and more for only $14.95 at an Amazon.com near you. You can get the digital version, which is actually full color, for only $9.95. Such a deal, okay? So, okay. All right. The other advertising portion, if I may, Rob, if you don't mind. So one of my jobs at Pegasus is I am the chief evangelist for the Startup World Cup. The Startup World Cup is now the biggest and richest startup competition on the planet. Let's see. It's not just in Silicon Valley, but on the planet. So we do about 60 regional competitions around the world every year. And then we bring the winners of all those regional competitions back to San Francisco to compete for a $1 million prize. So along the way, different partners offer $100,000, $250,000, $500,000 prizes. So altogether, we've got many millions of dollars of prizes in the Startup World Cup. So it happens every year we have to have a Silicon Valley regional competition. This year, the Silicon Valley regional competition is June 2nd at the Computer History Museum. So the applications are still open for great entrepreneurs that want to apply, that are interested in pitching on stage. If you win, you get to go to San Francisco and compete for a $1 million prize, okay? So if you buy the book, read the book, learn how to pitch, maybe you'll win. Okay, how about that for cross-selling? So I encourage, startupworldcup.io. Just go to startupworldcup.io and navigate to Silicon Valley Regional, and there you can get to the application form, or you can pick up a flyer that is conveniently available to any and all sitting right there. Please don't take my book, okay? So with that, all right, are we ready for pitching? You ready?
All right, first, let's give it up for Bill. So now it's the main event. We have elevator pitches, 60 seconds. You okay with 60 seconds? I know you wanted 30 seconds last time. He wanted 30-second pitches. I said, that's ridiculous. You can't say your name in 30 seconds. Anyway, so you get 60 seconds, no slides. This is a public event, so we want to be in compliance. So there will be no public ask with a dollar amount. We have the executive summaries for each of the presenters, which Bill will get. This is not a pitch contest. No offense to pitch contests. But there's no first, second, third prize. It's basically an opportunity for entrepreneurs to pitch to Bill. And hopefully Bill will follow up and request a second conversation, which is an outstanding outcome. First up, we have Snappy Hal and Kat. Let's give it up for Kat. Applause.
Hey, Kat.
Yes.
Okay, there we go.
Hi.
Hey, Kat, good to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Yeah, tell me, what are you up to?
Okay, so I'm the founder of Snappy How. I'm thinking of changing the name to Study House, but it's a platform for online study groups. Is it timed right now? Okay. Okay.
38 more seconds.
Okay, it's online study groups. In the past 2 weeks, I've got 800 people signed up for beta groups, adding 50 to 100 per day. My background with my passion in education is I have a PhD in applied math. I taught for 5 years in person and online. I discovered that students learn a lot better when they have study groups, but it's hard for online students to find these groups because they're on Zoom and Discord and Facebook. So having a designated platform adds value, and it's also valuable for Coursera and Udemy to advertise on this platform and get data from student behavior.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay.
Calm down. Okay.
It's my first pitch ever.
Okay, well, that was great. Let's give it up.
Thanks.
So thank you for volunteering to be first. I don't know if you volunteered or not, but thank you for being first. So, okay, here's what I heard. Hi, my name is Kat. And I'm the founder of Snappy Groups. I'm thinking of changing the name to Study Groups. But so the idea is that we help students create study groups, and I've already got 800 people, and they're growing at like 50 to 100 sometimes per week, per month, I don't know. But and you know, I'm finding my passion in education because I'm an applied math major, and I realized that in COVID, it's hard for students to create study groups, but study groups figure out better with study groups, and the study groups they can do Udemy and Coursera, and they can advertise, and implicitly that's how I'm going to make money, but I didn't say that out loud. And that's Snappy Groups, right? Is that what I
Yes.
heard? Okay. So, what did I miss? What did I miss? Did I anybody hear anything that I didn't hear? Yeah. What?
PhD.
Okay. I knew she was applied math. I thought it was PhD, and I didn't, you know. But okay, PhD in applied math. Okay. So, all right. So good news is I heard and understood and even remembered everything she said. Now the question is, did I get to wow? What did she do? What did she do? What did she do? She described her product. Right?
Okay.
She described her product. So study groups, and they're 800 and 50 to 100, how often?
Each day.
Every day.
Yeah.
800 users, is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Or- okay,
I
and
add
you do-
that many each day.
you add
Yeah.
each day, okay. So that means you're only about 2 weeks old?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you say that?
I said I got 800 in the past 2 weeks,
Is that okay?
but I
okay.
was also probably talking very quickly and mumbling.
That's
so.
okay. All right. Okay. But you see, it's not easy. You think you said something, and it's not all going to come across, right? And so that's the whole point. You're going to say things that you think are every gem of a word is going to sink in, and we're going to remember, but we're not, right? What, you know? And so now I'm just one brain. Different brains are going to absorb different parts. You know, he absorbed PhD pretty quickly, right? So now the question, of course, is I get the idea. I think I understand what you're doing. You're enabling students to form online study groups. There's a whole bunch of detail around that you know we're going to get to later, maybe. But now the question is, what is the compelling benefit of that? Do you have any evidence that it makes a difference?
So the evidence that I have right now is just people messaging me saying they're really grateful that they're starting groups together. But
Yeah.
as far as like outcomes in a course or something like that, I think it's too early.
Okay. So now this is a challenge for an early stage entrepreneur. You just launched, you don't have a lot of data, and the VCs are wondering, you know, come on, where's the data? Where's the data? So what do you do as a PhD?
Create a model or projection.
Well, okay, I do. Well, another thing you could do is dig in to see if there's any research on the value of study groups. Almost certainly somebody studied that, right? Somebody probably wrote a paper on this, and there are probably 35 theses in the School of Education at Stanford alone, right? Okay, so you know, there's probably some research that validates the approach you're taking that you can use as a proxy when you've just started and you don't have a lot of data yet.
Okay.
So that would be helpful. You know, research has demonstrated that in high school, students, I don't even know what grades you're focused on. I've experienced in high school.
It's actually been lifelong learners, so mostly adults.
Oh, really?
that have been joining. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Okay. But research has demonstrated that, you know, people in study group retain X plus blah, 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 right? Okay. Right? So that way, so our, you know, my mission is to increase by, you know, some significant factor the success of my students. Something like that. That just, you know, pushes me a little bit further than, well, obviously study groups.
Yeah, but quantifying how they're good.
Right.
Okay.
Okay? All right. Thank you, Kat. All right.
Next up, we have Mark from Adaptive MD. Applause. Give it up for Mark.
Hello. Okay. Hey, Mark. Good to see you.
How you doing, Bill?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm great. I'm Mark Bank, CEO of AdaptiveMD.us, and we do remote patient monitoring
Okay.
and targeted to doctors.
Okay.
And so the story is that my dad was saved by our system.
Okay.
And what happened is that one weekend he had significant weight gain, indicating that he had congestive heart failure. Very good. And so as a result, the system contacted his doctor. His doctor prescribed $2 worth of Lasix, and he peed off the extra fluid, avoided an expensive hospitalization in an emergency room for both Medicare and himself. He's 89 years old and a Medicare patient, so he's an example of our target customer. If you look at the data, there's 24 million Americans that are going to have multiple chronic diseases that are also Medicare patients, representing a $35 billion market based on the reimbursement for monitoring alone. We have a product, we have customers, we're raising a Series A to grow to 5,000 patients and to help the product scale.
All right. Okay. Wild applause for marketing. Okay. So my name is Mark, and I'm the CEO and founder of Adaptive MD. Adaptive MD, and the story is that my system saved my father's life. Interesting. So the implication is you got into the business before, so I don't know why you got in the business before your father had the problem, but that's okay.
Yeah.
You didn't found it.
I tried it out on him.
Okay.
No, I tried it
So
out.
my system saved my father's life. One weekend he found out he had a lot of weight gain. That meant an indication for congestive heart failure. So we called his doctor, or
System
and
connected.
the system connected him with the doctor, and the doctor gave him a pill that caused him to pee, and that saved his life. And so what we're doing is addressing the 24 million people, Americans I assume, that are likely to have a heart problem or something like this.
Chronic disease.
Chronic disease, broadly defined. Okay. Let's see. What else did I hear? That's so 24 million Americans that have chronic disease. You said something else. I'm not remembering what else you said after that. What did he say after that?
Series A 5,000 users.
Okay, thank you. So we're going to raise a Series A. Did you say how much? How much is he raising? He didn't say.
He didn't say.
He didn't say. He's raising. He's not allowed. Okay. Okay. We're raising a Series A to get to 5,000 users of our product. Now, interesting. Does everybody here know what his product is? Does anybody here know what his product is?
Patient monitoring, what
Remote patient monitoring is the service he offers, but he said he has a product.
Yeah.
So now, and I told you guys don't talk about your product, but you need to paint the picture in my mind of what it is you're doing. So you're doing remote patient monitoring. I know what that means, but I don't have a picture in my head of what that is. So really important lesson here. So I said, don't talk about the product. He took me literally, and he refused to talk about the product. So I'm thinking, so while he's talking, he says remote patient monitoring. It happens that we are doing a lot of work, investing. We're looking at a lot of remote patient monitoring technology companies. And so there's one that deals with this issue in the toilet seat. So it has sensors in the toilet seat. Believe it or not, it's not looking what's in the bowl. It's measuring the person sitting on the toilet seat. There's another that has a weight scale, about a scale that you stand on. And it doesn't just give you your weight, it also gives you an EKG, interestingly. So there are all these companies that are doing exactly what Mark is doing, but he never got to, unlike all those other companies that are doing remote patient monitoring, and both of those happen to be targeting congestive heart failure, cardiac. And there's a whole bunch of others as well. But he never said, unlike the other guys that are doing remote patient monitoring, what we can do or what we are doing is somehow better, somehow cheaper, somehow different in a way that's going to wake me up. Because, we've got a list of about 13 sort of significant remote patient monitoring technologies that we're looking at. And do I want to put this on my list or not? So of course I do, right?
Yeah.
Mark?
No.
Okay. So tell me, give me the answer to the question. Unlike all the other remote patient monitoring devices, what do you do?
We provide a tablet in the home that connects the doctor to the patient from their homes. And-
tablet. How does that monitor my
And then
health?
it has a weight scale attached, the blood pressure cuff, the pulse ox, and
Okay.
a thermometer.
Okay. All right.
So we transmit all that vital data to the doctor.
Okay, got it.
Data.
All right. Okay. So depending upon the patient, I'm going to take home a different device probably.
You got it, Bill.
Okay. All right. So I've only seen 3 companies like that. So you reduce the list to
Right.
only 3 companies
Well,
that I've seen that do that.
I
Okay.
know a few more.
So okay. So tell me the whole list, and then we'll talk. All right. Thanks a lot.
Sure.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Give it up for Mark.
Right, next up we have Anna from Delmar. Let's give it up for Anna.
Okay.
I
How you doing?
always work fine.
Okay, good. So you're gonna have to speak up.
Yes, I'm
Okay.
going. So,
Okay, so tell me a little bit about yourself.
I'm Anna. I'm CEO and founder of Devar and Forbes Under 30. I started my business 5 years ago, and Devar is a no-code platform for creation augmented reality. We have 20,000 companies who use our platform today, including McDonald's, Hasbro, Nasdaq, Colgate, and ours. We are growing 30% month-to-month by AR projects. We have more than 1 million AR views monthly, and I already raised 4 million. So our platform replaces a whole team of programmers, and it allows to create augmented reality experience for everyone without any special skills. And we are like a Canva for AR. Today we are used in marketing agencies, consumer packaging, all companies with physical goods who would like to go in AR. And today everyone here can create augmented reality just only 3 minutes, but which completely impossible before.
Okay, thank you. Give it up. Okay, so here's what I heard. Hi, I'm the founder and CEO of Devar. Devar is a no-code platform for developing augmented reality. We've got 40,000, 400,000. You had 4. There's a 4 in there somewhere. We got a lot of users, and we're used by companies like Colgate and McDonald's and some others.
Hasbro.
Hasbro, I heard Hasbro. Anybody else?
Colgate.
I think Colgate and Hasbro. Okay, but McDonald's, right? And others. So we're sort of like, so interesting you said this because I'm thinking Canva. And then she said, we're sort of Canva for AR. And so anybody can create AR, and nobody else has done anything like this. Is that what I heard? Okay, so that's what I heard. What did I miss?
4 million.
Oh, we've already raised $4 million. We've already raised $4 million. Okay, what else did I miss?
Just one figure about that we have 1 million AR views monthly.
1 million. Did you say that?
Yes, I see.
You did say that. You did say that. 1 million AR views month.
Yes. I also said
Okay.
we are growing 30%
And they did,
month.
yes, I did hear, yes.
Okay.
You did hear, I did hear 30% month over
Um,
month. It's interesting, I didn't even hear 1 million AR views. Isn't that interesting? So what that must have meant is that, so this part of the lesson I've learned that I want to communicate to you is this concept called cognitive load. And so whenever, you can tell she was loaded with that. But you can read the other person to tell if they're undergoing, sort of cognitive load, which means I hear something, it didn't quite connect, and so I'm processing it. For some reason, my brain has to take a break, stop listening to you, and then process. So you've got to be careful when you're talking that you don't put too much cognitive load on the listener. So that's why clear is so important. As soon as you say something that I've got to process, then I'm going to stop listening. Now, it's possible it was my own fault. It's possible that I went off on the Canva thing when you mentioned Canva.
Because Canva was later with 1 million.
It was really?
Yes.
Okay, so then it was the Canva thing. So what was the sentence before 1 million? Was it all the companies? It was all the
No,
companies.
it was about
30.
we are growing
30% month over month. Okay, that's interesting. Okay, so in any case, so you know what you need to do is test your wow, test your language to see what people can remember and what they can't remember. Now, Rob has made this particularly difficult for me because I say to Rob, I want to give him 30 seconds max. And Rob said, no, Bill, you've got to give him 60 seconds. So it's his fault. All right? But no, it's legitimate. Anytime you're pitching, you might have 60 seconds. You might have 60 seconds. And so presumably I got a good enough gist, right? The missing 30% month over month is a big miss for me. I did hear it, and I did respond positively here, but for whatever reason, I couldn't recover it. But 1.5 million views, I didn't hear at all. Interestingly, I'm not sure why that is. So, yeah, what do you make a point?
I think if she mentions 1 million views and then after that says 30% growth,
Yeah.
it will be more powerful.
Yeah.
It will be remembered.
So there were a bunch of numbers in there, right? So how many users do you have now? I didn't quite, I got 4 in there somewhere, but I couldn't remember the decimal.
20,000.
20,000. I wasn't even close. Okay. 20,000. 20,000 what? Daily active,
Companies.
monthly active, what?
Average. So
Average.
we're all active.
Okay.
We have 20,000 companies and creators.
Companies and creators.
Yes, who
Okay.
use our platform
Okay.
today.
Okay. 20,000 companies and creators. Okay. All right. So, all right. I know. I got to move on. But, okay. The main point here is if you put too much in, if you pack too much in, then we're not going to get all of it. So be careful when you have a lot of numbers. When you have a lot of numbers in your wow, you know, I'm not going to be, you know, the person's not going to be able to take them away. And so maybe that's part of the reason I missed the 30% and why I missed the 4 million. I heard it. I heard both of those. I just didn't remember them. Okay, so be careful you don't have too many numbers. Pick and choose your numbers and plant them carefully in your, you know, in your communications. Okay? Thank you. Thank you. All right. Who's up next?
Nick from Inspires.
Oh, yes, the famous Inspire. Wild applause for Nick, okay? So, Nick, hi. How you doing?
Good. How you doing?
I'm doing great. So tell me, what are you up to?
Well, we run a company, creator marketplace, or creator economy marketplace called Inspires. We processed over 1,000 orders, and our customers love using us because our workflow is 4 times faster than anyone else out there. And I'm sure you already know this, but freelance marketplaces and the creator economy are big markets. But the problem with freelance marketplaces, with the Fivers and Upworks of the world, is that everything starts from scratch. Everything that you do starts from ground zero, from square one, and it's a slow process. So what we do is we create a marketplace where creators can upload pre-made content to be either used as is or as a project starting point with customers. So you can think anything from logos to music to marketing campaigns and more. And you can imagine it like a B2B Pinterest where you could browse categories, pick something that you love, buy it, you edit it with the creator, and then you close out, so it's fast. And what's interesting is our sellers that are using this workflow are outselling their custom services by 40x.
Okay. Woo. Okay. Okay. All right. So I'm Nick with Inspires, and we're a platform for creators. We're a platform for creators. And what's great about us is that our workflow is 4 times faster than anyone else. And unlike, you know, Upwork and Fiverr, everything starts from scratch. And what we do is we don't start from scratch. You can upload something and start from there, and that makes it faster. And so, God dang, and you ended with 40x. What was 40x?
The sellers that are focused on selling pre-made content outsells custom services by 40x.
Okay. So, How clear was that to you guys? How clear was it? I mean, I was having a tough time. I heard it was a platform. And then later on, he said marketplace. And then he mentioned Fiverr and Upwork. So I'm piecing this together. Right? So for all I know, you could have been a no-code platform for doing creative. Okay. Right? Yeah. And, just like Anna over here, right? Except, all creative, not just AR, right? Okay. So I'm struggling to piece, you're forcing me to try to piece together what it is you do. So you said platform, okay, for creatives. For creatives or creators? What did you say?
Oh, we're creative, so designers, musicians.
Okay,
engineers, and folks.
but what about people who need creative work? Is it
That's
for-
what it is. So it's like what I said, logos.
So that it's a
music.
marketplace,
Yeah, so it
right?
requires-
Right, okay, right, okay. So it is a marketplace. Platforms are frequently marketplaces, but not always marketplaces, So, okay, so, so I get some nodding here. You guys were struggling a little bit knowing exactly what he does. So then you spend a lot of time describing what you do, right? And you can upload logos and designs and things like that. And so you're not starting from zero. But what's the compelling benefit of that? You said the workflow is 4 times faster. That's what you said. Yeah. The workflow is 4 times faster. That's interesting. Workflow to me is different than deliverable.
Okay.
I don't know. Is
Okay.
it?
I see what you mean.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, so does that mean because the workflow is 4 times faster, does that mean that I get what I want 4 times faster? That's what
You get your delivery 4 times faster.
Okay.
Because you're not starting from scratch.
Okay, so a typical project takes 8 weeks, but in our case, you can get it in 1 or 2 weeks, sometimes less, right? Wouldn't that have been better than workflow is 4 times faster? I don't know. Do you think? Which do you think? I don't know. I mean, but if you tell me what you know about the industry in terms of what a typical gig economy design project is in terms of length. What is the typical length of a design project?
For logos, it's usually 1 or 2 months.
Okay.
We've seen logos sell within 5 or 6 days because you can
Okay.
pick the templates that are exclusive.
Okay.
And you can use those to generate ideas, and then you can work from
Okay.
there instead of trying to articulate ideas.
So, so my daughter's a graphic designer, and she always starts with something. Yeah. So I'm confused now. So I'm also confused because I know a little bit, which is always dangerous because VCs think they're smart, and so they tend to assume that their assumptions are accurate. So you got to be careful what baggage I bring to your pitch. So I'm thinking, what's so special about starting with something? I mean, that seems obvious, doesn't it? Wouldn't everybody start with something?
Well, you start with the ideas that you think that you want, but people
Okay.
get frustrated with the process because it's too long. So if you want something simple, say cover,
Right.
you browse through ideas that have already been made, simple products for you,
Yeah.
and then you get in and out much faster because you get to start with something that you found that you already like. Versus
Okay.
trying to describe what you think you might want.
Okay, well, that's what Paulina did with that. Okay, so Paulina, she took a whole bunch of couple covers that some she did and some she found, and she said, "Hey, Bill, Angelica, where should I go?" Is that what you do?
With exclusive, so everything that you buy can only be purchased. Only to purchase is
Okay. Okay. So I know we're out of time. I'm not trying to be mean here.
No,
I'm trying to sort of push you to be, sort of more clear and more compelling. You're frowning.
Well,
You think you're perfectly clear.
No, I mean, I guess I thought I phrased it correctly.
Okay. Everybody agree with Nick? He phrased it perfectly clearly, right? I'm not getting. Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Okay. So that's feedback. Okay.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Hopefully it's useful. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. All right. Okay.
Next up, we have Sergio. Let's hear from Nick. Let's hear from Sergio.
Okay. Hey, Sergio.
Sergio Pigliotti. I'm a filmmaker,
Great.
and so I recently developed a relationship with an Emmy Award-winning documentary filmmaker, Rico Corona. So we're coming at documentaries as an ecosystem to cross over. It lends itself to infomercials and discovering the mission statements of companies,
Okay.
the camera and the interview process and the film process as a way to eke out mission and then eventually relationship with market.
Okay. Okay. Who wants to tell me what Sergio does? Okay. What is he? Come here. Come here. Come here. Come here. Come here. Yes, you. All right. So your name is?
Yeah, I'm Pranjali.
Okay. What does Sergio do?
Sergio and his partner, the Emmy award-winning director, both of them are coming together to explore stories behind the missions for which the corporate companies are building their companies.
She got it.
That's it.
Very good.
I'd
Very
add,
good.
I'd add, I'm a musician, the composer, so I want to put the score into the music to help the.
Okay. Okay. So it's Enrico Caro or somebody who has this Emmy, and so and you're a documentary film producer, and so you're creating films for companies.
When you start a documentary, if it's very dry and research oriented, it might be long term. That's a documentary. If you're interviewing somebody with a great entrepreneurial idea, it might become it might become an infomercial.
You know where I got lost? I got lost when you said we're developing an ecosystem.
Studying ecosystems of successful companies.
We're studying ecosystems of successful companies. Okay. Okay. So you picked up. I got distracted by ecosystem, but you didn't get distracted by ecosystem, did you? Did you hear ecosystem?
No.
Okay. Okay. So I heard ecosystem and I went off. What? So you're pulling together. I was trying to figure out what you were doing ecosystem-wise, but I misunderstood. You're studying the ecosystem of companies.
To help derive what they do for humanity and their mission.
Okay.
So how would their ecosystem doing?
So I heard somehow you were going to, sort of elevate their mission to film, but I couldn't quite get excited about what was special about what you were doing to accomplish that. That would make me you helped me with the Emmy Award winning. I know you're credible. But I didn't hear something that was credible. Right? I didn't believe at the end that what you had was special. So why didn't I believe that? Partly because I couldn't understand exactly what you were doing, and then partly because you never gave me sort of a concrete example of what you do. So one of the things that might have helped is, and I literally, while you were talking, I was thinking, this guy's a filmmaker. Why isn't he painting a picture in my head of what he's doing? And so what might have helped is if you could have given an example of a film or whatever, a video or whatever, of that did what you said. That's obviously hard to do in words. But can you tell me something you've done that was outstanding, that accomplished this mission? How would you describe one of your pieces?
A film on a three-generation Latino winemaker in Napa Valley.
Okay, so we did was it a 5-minute film or a 50-minute film?
That one was 20 minutes.
20-minute film on a winemaker and, the 3 generations of a winemaker family that exposed or somehow. What did it evoke? What was the emotion or the imagery or you're a filmmaker, what's the right word? Okay. What did this film bring about at the end of the film? What was the experience that the people who watched the film had? Can you summarize that?
Long-running value to family sticking together.
Long-running value to humanity. How they went from X to Y, delivering something to the Napa Valley and to all of California and the rest of the world. I don't know, some language that gives me some elevation that you created by telling this story? Is that, I mean, being a little bit more specific and concrete, but at least mentioning, this family, this 3 generations, then that gets me closer to, understanding what you picked up. So, but you hear, and I don't know, maybe I'm the only one. I don't think I'm the only one in the room that was struggling, right? So, okay. So I know your medium is film, it's not words, but you're going to have to do a better job of painting a picture in the mind of your listener. Okay? All right. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
We have one filming.
Oh, we do. Okay, great.
Rosie, Tri-Valley Pictures. Let's give it up to Rosie.
Okay, hey, Rosie.
Hello.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Excellent. All right. So, Rosie, tell me, what are you up to?
Well, I'm with Tri-Valley Pictures. I'm an executive producer, and what I'm going to be pitching tonight is actually one of our motion pictures. Tri-Valley Pictures is a motion picture company located out in Livermore. This is a story about a man who's a criminal profiler in pursuit of his own missing wife. She had disappeared about a few years ago in an excursion in Canada and legally declared dead when they couldn't find her body or any proof that she was mauled or whatever. He had this, with a broken heart, he decided to go pursue his own investigation, but he carries a secret that can uncover her whereabouts. Now, this is a story that is written in the genre of one of the highest revenue-generating genres that exists on the market today. And if you don't like that story, I have lots more in my profile. That's it.
That's it? Okay. All right. A round of applause for Rosie. So, hi, my name is Rosie, and I'm with Tri-Valley Films, and I'm an executive producer. And I'm going to tell you the story of one of our films. It's about a man who is a criminal profiler, whose wife disappeared on a trip in Canada. And he decided he was going to use his skills as a profiler to go try to find her, even though she was never found and was declared dead. And so, let's see, is that as much the story? So she didn't, spoiler alert, right? We didn't get it.
Yeah, but he carries the secret.
Oh, but he carries a secret.
Uncover where she is.
Okay, but he carries a secret that could uncover, she just said will. She will uncover, I think you said could, but before, that's okay, that will uncover where she might be. And so, okay, so I think that's what I remember about the story, and then you said, and that's the story, it uses one of the highest performing genres there is. And I could have sworn that was video games. Is that not true?
It's written. I said it was written in the genre of one of the highest revenue generated.
It was written in the genre of one of the highest revenue generating
on the market
genres
on the
film market
today.
Why didn't you tell me what that was? Because
in the beginning I said a horror.
Really?
A sci-fi horror fantasy.
No, you didn't. Did she say that?
I said a sci-fi horror.
No. Wait. Did you hear sci-fi horror?
No, I did not.
I'm pretty sure you didn't say sci-fi horror, yeah?
Yeah, I think you should repeat that at least.
Well, right. I mean, so at least when you get to the other end, the sci-fi horror genre is the highest performing category in all of film. Is that right? That's what you meant to say. But I didn't get it, right? I didn't get it because you just said it's whatever, right? Okay. So that was just an unhook. And whether you said it or not, most people here don't think you. Yeah, right. So that's a clue. Okay. All right. So, but if you don't like that, we got a bunch of others. So now I don't know exactly what you're selling. Are you selling? As an executive producer, your job is to raise money for films.
Motion pictures.
Motion pictures.
narrative motion pictures.
Okay.
Stuff that you like.
So are you trying to sell equity in Tri-Valley Films, or are you trying to sell equity in that film, or what are you selling?
I was pitching a film. You can have you can invest as an equity investor in that particular film.
Okay.
But if you don't like that one, I have several more.
That's what I
That
heard.
is in different genres,
Okay.
and that's available.
Okay. So I wasn't sure if you were pitching Tri-Valley or that film alone, or if what your business is your business selling stakes in films or selling stakes in Tri-Valley, or, right? So
It could be anything,
It
but
could be, but
I was just.
you tell me.
Yeah. Well, there is availability in Tri-Valley Pictures, but
So,
I
as a clue, most VCs are not going to be interested in a film. They're going to be interested in a business. And you're in the business of finding great script stories, whatever, creating them and turning them into film and selling them and distributing them and all that stuff. That's presumably what business you're in, right? And so that's going to be more attractive to a VC than betting on an individual film.
Yes.
Generally. Now, there are some VCs who do fund, mainly it's angel type funding, not, venture capital institutional funding. I don't know that I've ever seen an institutional VC fund a film, but, Jeffrey Stahl funds whatever, right? Have you pitched Jeffrey?
No, I haven't.
You haven't? Okay, one of the founders of eBay, you see him on every third film credit. I don't know, whatever. But, okay, thank you, Rosie. Okay? All right, give it up for Rosie.
Well, we have Mike from Keto. Let's give it up for Mike.
Okay, here he is. Okay, Mike, good to see you again.
Yeah.
How are you doing?
I'm doing stupendous.
Oh, good. So, why?
Because I'm in love.
Okay.
I'm in love
Yes.
in cryptocurrency.
Oh, I can imagine. Okay.
It's not hard to be in love in cryptocurrency these days.
Okay.
Because 40 million people in this country in love in cryptocurrency too.
Okay.
But cryptocurrency has a problem.
It does, really? What's the
Because
problem?
cryptocurrency tools were built by early adopters, for early adopters.
Okay.
It's not easy to use, it's clunky, etc. That's why I built my own hardware cryptocurrency wallet.
Oh,
Yeah.
very cool.
Yeah, it's easy to use keycard device with wireless interfaces, etc. Yeah, it's very cool. Yeah.
Okay. Is that really your account?
Yeah.
He doesn't need my money.
Yeah. Yeah. My biggest competitor valued of $1.5 billion US.
Are you telling me? I said it.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You're out.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. And so my biggest competitor valued of $1.5 billion US right now. But almost everybody who I see with my device told me that they pay convert the device and they love my product.
Okay, that's what fees with that out.
Ledger wallet.
Ledger wallet. Okay, right. Okay.
Everybody hates Ledger.
Okay. Why don't you say that out loud? I'm sitting there. I'm trying to think. I know the name of the company. I can't remember the name. It's what was it?
I can't say it. Yeah.
Okay. Just that way I don't have to worry. I don't have to think, right? Right? So you do not want the VC to think. Right? You just want the VC to hear and react. Okay? That's the cognitive load point. Okay, so hi, my name is Mike, and I'm in love. I'm in love with cryptocurrency. But the problem, cryptocurrency has a problem. The problem is that the devices for using cryptocurrency were developed by the early adopters. And so they're complex and they're hard.
Developed by early adopters for early adopters.
Yes, developed by early adopters for early adopters. Thank you. And so I developed my own
for the mass market
cryptocurrency wallet. Okay, and then handed it over, and I'm looking at his different crypto accounts, and then I'm looking at his NFTs. None of which were bad. But the accounts were pretty good. That was good. That's when I said, so then I got distracted, and that's when I said, he doesn't need my money. So do you need my money?
I don't need your money.
Oh, good. Okay.
Just kidding. I need your money.
That was good. That was good. Okay. So yes, so that was actually pretty impressive. Some of you have the advantage that you can take, whatever your thing is, you can easily paint the picture of what it is. He was able to hand this over to him, boom, right? It was real. I could see that it worked, and I understood what it was for. And so that was incredibly powerful, that he could hand me something that clarified right there what his business is. Now, you didn't say, what didn't you say? You didn't say if it's more expensive or cheaper. You didn't say, I assume it's easier. I actually, I'm supposed to go out and buy one of the ledger wallets. My crypto friends all tell me, don't use Coinbase, right? Right? Okay, that's what I need to do. Okay, so, but I haven't done it yet. So, yeah, like I trust his, right? Well, I met a guy at JJ Lake, and he had a crypto wallet, and he said, just use mine. Do you know my password? Okay. So now I get what you're doing, and I get you assert that you're better than the main competitor. But your other competitor is also Coinbase and all of the, all the platform guys. So you need to sell against both Ledger Wallet and against Coinbase, right? So I didn't hear that. And so now it's an interesting question in the crypto world is, how, we heard in the early days, we heard all the stories of all the money that was lost in Mount Mock or whatever it was called.
Empty Gox,
Right, okay, Mount Gox, right?
Empty Gox.
Empty Gox. Oh, it's not Mount, it's MT. That's interesting. I was read it as Mount. But now the issue is not the services. The issue is for getting your password, right? And so what would have been powerful, maybe, I don't know, what would have been powerful is, I got a Bitcoin buddy who says 30% of all the Bitcoin on the network, on the blockchain, 30% is stranded because people have lost their passwords. That was an amazing stat. And now, are you going to solve that problem or not?
Yeah, I'm solving that problem.
Why? You didn't tell me that though. Isn't that kind of the biggest problem?
The biggest problem is that last year $4 billion in cryptocurrency were stolen.
Okay, and that was stolen because they didn't use a hardware wallet?
Hardware wallet will help. I get it. I need to be honest.
Please be honest.
Okay,
that's good. So, but for most people, I don't know, interesting, how many people in the room have cryptocurrency? Pretty good. How many are using hardware wallets?
Wow.
About half. Maybe a third. The rest are using Coinbase or something. Interesting. Okay, that's an interesting point. But that was pretty good. We had almost half the room has crypto. That's what I read, which is pretty good. So all right. But so were they all helpful? I don't know. I mean, we got maybe sure. So so you've got to address your advantage over the clear alternatives. So you showed me your product was cool, I get what you're doing, and now it's clear. So you got the clear part. The compelling part, I'm not sure you got, right? Because you didn't tell me, you assert that all the other tools were made by early adopters for early adopters, and they're all painful and hard and obnoxious. I don't really know why that's easier than Ledger Wallet. And I don't really know why it's better than Ledger Wallet other than the pain. And I don't know why it's better than Coinbase. So, that's more than 20 seconds. I get it, but that's more than 20 seconds. But you need to start with the first 20 seconds, and then you've got another 40 seconds to elaborate on these points. Okay? All right, good work. Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
our final presenter.
How are we doing on time?
We're now our final presenter.
Oh, good. Okay. No, not good. I'm so sorry.
Next up, we have Faz and no GPS. Scale it up.
No GPS. All right. Okay. Good to meet you, Kiraz.
Don't try to pronounce it.
Okay.
Because you will not be able to.
Okay. Good.
I am the only person on this planet with this name. That's it. That's it.
Oh, very interesting. That's pretty cool.
If you can search it, it's only me.
Okay.
Okay.
Good for us.
No GPS technology. I am inventor, founder, and CEO of No GPS Technologies. I have invented this technology which gives geolocation without satellite communication.
I'm sorry, it gives geolocation without what?
Satellite communication. You don't need satellite.
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 Satellite. That's what you said. Okay.
Without satellite communication.
Right. Gives GPS. Oh, right. So it's bose-einstein condensate.
What?
Is it quantum? Oh, keep going.
No.
Keep going. Okay.
I have got the patent for it.
Okay.
And on 15th November last year, Russia shot a satellite.
I know.
Okay. And that is a real danger of space for now because of Ukraine.
Exactly.
America doesn't have a backup system, a land-based. Russia and China, they have a land-based system. With my technology, American government can establish a land-based system within a month, without spending a single penny. People will pay.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
So
I am a man with an unpronounceable name that is unique in the world, and I am the inventor, founder, and CEO of.
And I am a seated inventor. I have 4 patents.
Okay, wait, you didn't tell me that before.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. This is what I heard, right? Okay.
That's right.
I'm the inventor, founder, CEO of No GPS Technology.
Yeah.
Okay, and so now we enable GPS precise location without access to satellites.
That's right.
Because on November 15th, last year, the Russians shot down a satellite. And, implication being the GPS system is at risk. The Russians and the Chinese, they have a land-based system, but the Americans, we don't have a land-based system. And so I can deliver within 1 month, is that what you said?
Yeah, within 1 month.
A land-based GPS system without them paying 1 penny, not 1 penny.
American government doesn't have to pay a single penny.
Because somebody else will pay. I don't think the Chinese will pay.
People will pay.
All right. So because people will pay. All right. Okay. So I'm gonna say something a little harsh. Okay.
Yes. Please.
VCs do not like inventors.
Yes, I know.
You do know that?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, good, okay.
Nobody likes inventors.
Do you know why we don't like inventors? Why don't VCs like inventors?
They need to make money for this. No money.
No, it's idea. It's never.
All right, keep going.
It's not execution. It's an idea.
Well, okay, that's, okay.
They don't stop inventing, so they move on to the next ideas probably.
So that's also an issue.
Yeah.
So the reason VCs don't like inventors is because inventors are dedicated to making sure that their invention gets celebrated as a breakthrough that has saved the world, right?
Yeah.
So inventors are focused on their invention being celebrated. What we want are innovators who are focused on delivering value to customers, whatever it takes. And what we've learned is that almost always the first idea that an entrepreneur has for solving a problem isn't quite right. It isn't quite right. And so they have to pivot, right? This is why everybody talks about pivoting, right? Because it turns out your assumption about the best way to solve a problem frequently isn't quite right. And so you've got to be able to go out there and say, oops, I got to change it this way, I got to change it this way, I got to change it this way. inventors have a tendency to be stuck on their particular technology and their particular patent, and think, okay, I can convince them that this is the right way to do it. Now, I'm not saying that this is true in your case. Okay, it's not necessarily true in your case. Okay, it's not necessarily. So maybe, God bless, maybe you've solved it. Having said that, it happens that one of the areas we're diving into, and I'd be interested in your feedback on this, is the use of neutral atoms in sort of a quantum state to provide a very specific sensor, gyroscope accelerometer that can to tell where you are within millimeters.
Yeah, that's right. But that's expensive.
Without.
My solution is $2.
Okay.
And that is
okay.
Those ion-based gyroscope.
Yeah.
They range from up to $70,000 per piece. But
okay.
My solution is just $2.
Okay.
That's the thing. That's the difference.
Okay. All right. Okay. So I will be very interested in reading your patent and hearing more about your technology.
Definitely.
Okay.
And it's just one piece. There are 4 different ways. There are 4 different ways.
But wait, there's more. What?
Yeah. You can provide location with beacons. Beacons everywhere. And
wait! You please tell me that you don't have to put beacons out to do this. You're not beacon based, are you?
No. As well, there is another way.
Okay.
Okay. There are 4 different ways.
Okay. So tell me what your 4 different ways. You have my card.
Yeah.
So send me the information.
I will send
all right.
The information.
Okay. Here for us. Thank you.
I've been working for 3 years on this.
Okay, you heard it here first, right? You heard it here first. The first land-based GPS in America.
System.
Okay.
Positioning system.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, guys. One of the great things about this event is you get to hear all these amazingly interesting ideas. And so, how many? Wait, are there any other investors here in the audience? Any other investors? Okay, all right, but they admit it, right? Okay. Well, in any case, okay, gang, that was great fun. Thank you so much to the entrepreneurs. Thank you so much for your sort of patience and resilience as we went through that. I do appreciate that. I just want to emphasize what I was trying to do was sort of model what you should all do, which is try your pitch on other people, try your wow on other people, and get them to try to repeat it back to you. And then you'll find out what they can hear and what they can't hear. And you'll find out what makes sense and what doesn't make sense. And they'll give you questions that you need to preempt, maybe not in the first 20 seconds, but eventually. So that's, we can describe how to get to wow in words, but you can't do it until you develop it, design it, try it, experiment, tweak, and iterate. So try it out, see if it works, try to model this, can you repeat it back to me, and then continuously improve, okay? Yeah. All right, you got it?
Yeah.
All right, okay.
Okay, so let's give it up for our event team. Tyler. Tim Jaggers on our video team.
Yes.
Give it up to JJA for hosting us. And thank you for the audience. Thank you all.